Welcome to Honest Whispers Review for Sale. On this video, I'll be reviewing Women of the DC Universe Series 1 Donna Troy Wonder Girl Bust. Released by DC Direct on August 29th, 2007. Limited edition of 6,000. This bust is number 3,241 out of 6,000. Approximately 5.875 inches tall. Designed by Adam Hughes and sculpted by John G. Matthews. I'm going to go over 6 different categories to review this. First category is design. Covers the concept, the pose, and the look. And as far as the concept goes, it's the women of the DC Universe. And for the pose, I like it, but I don't love it, and I definitely don't hate it. It just kind of gives me that impression of a hello, is anybody there type of look or expression, or even what is that type of look or expression. And I don't know, I think it could have been better if it was something that was more distinctive to who Wonder Girl is. And let me just kind of do a little spin around here to kind of give you that full extent of the look. So, and just to kind of elaborate, when you look at the other bust that was previously released when this bust was released, or even the one that's coming up soon, you can see distinctive poses like Black Canary doing a scream with their hand up, Power Girl posing, flexing her muscles, Zatanna doing a trick, Batgirl holding a batarang, Harley Quinn holding a mallet, Big Barda holding the cape or costume of her significant other, Mr. Miracle, so on and on. Of course, these poses are a little bit more generic, just arms to the side, arms crossed, etc. Or like Supergirl, she's changing with a finger to her lips, like a hush or little secret, be quiet type of signature sign. So that's why I feel like Wonder Girl could have been better, but it's still fine as is. Now, when I look at Wonder Girl, I feel like she's proportionally off. Everything from her upper body, head, shoulders, arms, breasts, even waist, really nicely done. But then when I look at her lower hip, just as is fine, but together it looks unproportioned and a bit narrow for her body. So for me, I would have brought this up on the sculpting category, but the reason why I'm bringing this up here is because when you look at the original artwork that the bust is designed after or based off of, you can see that her hips are a bit narrow compared to her upper body. And for me, that's more due to the point of perception, because her hips are further away, so it would look smaller. But unfortunately, they transferred the actual proportions to the sculpt, and that's why for me, when I look even further back, it looks slightly unproportioned. I guess in another way to put it, if she was supposed to be 36, 24, 36 on her measurements, well, I would say it would be on this proportions 36, 24, 30. So that's kind of what it looks like here. Another issue I have with the design would be that the base, it is nice overall. I do like the rock base and everything, but it is very unstable, and that's the reason why she's on the edge rather than the middle, because if I place her in the middle, she's going to go ahead and lean forward or even tip over. So if I let go, she's not going to stand. And to give you a reason why, is because the base is very narrow and small. And you could see that the foam padding, the way it's placed, is more in the middle. I would have placed it more here on the tip. And that way she would have been more stable. Right now, for instance, if I put it on a very flat surface, she's still going to have a slight lean forward. A little bump to the table or a very small earthquake, it's going to knock her over. And you can see how her head is kind of leaning forward too, so she gets a bit front or top heavy and really takes away the stability of this bust. So you have to be very careful where you place it. Even right now, I'm kind of scared to just spin this. Seems like she's kind of stable now. Let me put it on this spot where I know it was more stable. Okay. So yeah, that design, I'm gonna put that in the design category. Initially, I was gonna put it on the sculpting as execution, but you can see here that this is the artwork that the bust is based off of. So again, even on the artwork, you can see how small the base is compared to like her upper body and head area. So definitely would have made it proportional so that it's a lot more stable. And that's why I give the design score a couple hits. Still high, but not perfect. 8 out of 10. Next category is sculpting. Covers the details, quality of the sculpt, quality of the molding. And starting from the top, hair has a lot of nice details. It's not overdone, or it's not like too much details, like they're trying to sculpt every strand of hair, but it's not too simplified, like as if this bust was based off of an animation or an anime type of artwork. The face is very nicely done. She is actually pretty compared to other busts or statues where the face turns out a bit ugly. Eyes, nose, lips, everything nicely proportioned. Cheekbones and cheeks and chin, everything nicely shaped. You could even see the star earrings have been sculpted. Costume is pretty much perfect. Love the details, like the stars and the belt, all nicely done. The rock base, can't go wrong with that. And just to point out that they already did a Greek style column or a pillar for Wonder Woman, so I can see why they skipped on doing the same or similar thing for Wonder Girl. So the rock or the boulder base really works fine. Now for some issues, sculpting quality is actually pretty good for DC Direct. On the hair, you could see some rough surfaces, maybe dimples or bumps, but because it's black hair, it's really hard to tell any blemishes or defects or damages or things like that. Not that this statue or bust is damaged, but you could see the star is nice, but you can see little edges here and there. Could be it's a bit rough. The cleavage, if you look really closely at it, area gets a bit rough. And then one of the worst issues that I saw, which really isn't that bad, is the back. You can see the surface area a bit rough, especially in the middle area and where her costume and skin meets. So you could see the indented lines, the dimple right there, and then of course little bumps down the middle where her spine is, and right here on the forearm where the bracelet is. It's a bit rough right there. I could even see like a little line. And over here on her fist or knuckles, you could see little bumps right there. Almost looks like part of her hand got melted. But of course, these are things that you can only really tell when you're looking at it up close. So from a bit of a distance, it's really hard to tell. Even her back right here, as I shown up close, yeah, it could look a bit rough, maybe like Velveeta cheese. But from a bit further back, it's less visible. It actually looks pretty nice. The butt is very nicely sculpted. Now, for me personally, I would have liked it better if the butt crack and the crevice lines were a bit more defined, but still looks nice as is. And for the boulder base, any imperfections look like it's part of the natural, look of the rock itself. So even if there are little rough edges, I mean, it's a rock, so really makes no difference. And finally, for me, the lasso I kind of have an issue with. It is a metal wire lasso, but you could see how it's kind of curvy. It's not completely straight, and even on the curves, it's not a consistent curve, and you might see some sharp angles like right there. And to give a better perspective, you could see how on the artwork the lasso is straight, and when it's all rolled up, they're like perfect circles. And then when you look at the prototype, hey, look at that, the prototype, the lasso, you can see it's flat, straight, and then on the part where it's all rolled up, you could see how you don't have sharp angles. And then here's the actual bust. You could see it's not flat and straight on the top part she's holding, and then again the angle. So a few flaws here and there, nothing too major, but a lot of minor ones. That's why I do put a hit on that score. But my biggest flaw for me is the unstable base. And although that's more part of the design, I still have to say it's part of the execution as well. And that's why I give the sculpting score a solid above average 7 out of 10. Next category is colors. Covers the accuracy of the colors, quality of the paint application. And as far as accuracy goes, this is exactly how Wonder Girl's red costume will be colored. So very happy with that, and definitely accurate, and one of my favorite Wonder Girl costumes. So, but beyond that, you could see that the paint quality isn't bad. You could see how her lips have a bit of that gloss finish, so it's very shiny. I wish they did the same for her costume. Everything else is matte finish. And beyond that, for a DC Direct product, the paint application actually isn't bad either. Again, to cover it in details, the face, eyes are pretty much symmetrical. Everything seems fine. There's no bleeding on any vital parts. Overall, her costume is done really well too. You might see some slight bleeding and wiggly lines, but very minor. Let's see here. Actually, let me go to the earring. You can see that the earring, at least the surface is painted, but I wish the edge part, rather than her flesh color, it was the star color. So it kind of looks like her flesh is bleeding onto the edge of the earring. Over here I showed on the sculpting part, but if you look at it closely, you could see some flesh color paint bleeding into the bracelet, and you could see the silver paint bleeding onto her forearm a little bit. Over here where her hand is, not perfectly straight lines, but still not bad. The belt over here has some bleeding as well. You could see the red bleeding onto the tip, the top tips of both the W right there, the left side right here, or her right, and her left side, or our right side. You can see the red bleeding, And even on the bottom here of the middle of the W, some red bleeding into the gold. Little red bleeding into the border. And of course, these are all minor. But then now when you start looking at the stars, this star looks overall great. But once you look closer into it, not all of the tips are filled in. Some of these stars on the side even looks deformed and out of shape. Right here above her belt, and one right here on the very bottom is probably the worst looking shape star of this bust. On the other side, you see a lot of similar mistakes. Not as bad as that last one I just showed you, but again, the tips not fully filled in. This one is actually pretty bad, but due to its angle, harder to see. And then a few more here. Not too bad, but again, you could see how the stars, especially the gold paint, doesn't fill in all the little tips and corners. Or if they do, they're kind of bleeding out and it's like dulled corners rather than sharp corners. So very minor, nothing major, but still a lot of it does tend to add on. And that's why I give the color score a solid 7 out of 10. Next category is packaging. Covers the design, the look, and functionality. And as far as functionality goes, this the foam protector does its job. It keeps the bust protected, nice and safe. And actually, let me go ahead and put this bust on the back here. And that way I could go ahead and show you the box, front and back, without the bust getting in the way. Now, what I like about this design is that it is very consistent with all the other products in the product line. There are some key differences. So all of these busts, they have the same similar look to it, the same font, same wording, title, placement of the pictures, and the wordings are pretty much the same. There might be a little difference here, like for instance the Power Girl, the DC Direct logo was on this side rather than on that side. And then the background color is usually different, but the layout is the same. You get the nice full picture of the prototype, a bit of a close-up of the prototype with the measurements, and then of course the title, the artwork that it's based on, always on this side, it seems to be. And of course on the back you have the bust that was released prior to this bust, and then a bust that's coming out soon. And of course the bottom is just the UPC sign, company information, and then of course the hand numbered sticker. So the box is fine and looks great overall. Nice glossy finish. If I had to improve it, or if I was asked if there was anything I would do to improve it, I would probably get rid of all the prior bust or whatever. It's sort of like unnecessary promotion to me. Rather, I would put more details either about the character or the bust itself. And, you know, if you really want to go fancy, I would maybe do like a matte finish and make it glossy on the characters or the letters. But beyond that, this box is fine just as is. And that's why I give the box score a near perfect 9 out of 10. Next category is value and covers the suggested retail price versus quality and suggested retail price versus the aftermarket price. And for this bust, when it first came out, if I could find this stable spot, when this bust first came out, the suggested retail price was at $45. It's been 13 years, and Honestly, there really hasn't been much appreciation to the aftermarket value. Right now, I'm seeing new ones that are listed at the lowest $35 plus like $10.99 shipping. So basically at $46. I don't know how much more tax would add on. And then the average bust price for this Wonder Girl bust is basically around $50 average. I see a lot of 60, 65. They're probably not going to sell until the lower priced ones sell. So unfortunately, there really isn't much aftermarket value on this, but at least it is little over the original suggested price. So there's somewhat of an appreciation. So at around $5 to $10 for 13 years at most, really isn't much. And that's why when I saw this, I'll probably list it at around 55 to 60, and then just go down with the bottom line being at around 45 to 50. Otherwise, I'd rather keep it. And that's why I give the value score an average 5 out of 10. Final categories overall accumulates the 5 prior categories: design, sculpting, colors, packaging, and value. And I do like Wonder Girl, especially this costume Wonder Girl. There's not many products, whether it be statues, action figures, or busts, where she's wearing this particular costume. So that's a huge plus for me. I like the overall look. I think there's definitely room for improvement. It's unfortunate that the value score, or the value, aftermarket value, really isn't there. But it's better than having it depreciate and worth less than what it was originally, retailed at. So that's why I give the overall score. I mean, I like it, but not to the point where I have to keep this. But if I could, I'd definitely hold on to it as long as I can. And that's why I give the overall score an above average, a solid 7 out of 10. So to recap: design, 8 out of 10. Sculpting, 7 out of 10. Colors, 7 out of 10. Packaging, 9 out of 10. Value, 5 out of 10. And overall, 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time, continue reading the King James Version Bible and eat your vitamin C's daily.